ECM or electrochemical machining is a technology that's poised to really transform how we think about rifle barrels and how rifle barrels are manufactured. I'm joined today with Ron Duplessis, the owner of sister brands Carbon 6 and McGowen barrels. Thank you very much, Ron, for joining us.
Oh, Gavin, thanks for having me on.
Why don't you briefly describe the brands that your barrel companies sit under, and then we can get into this discussion about ECM, which I'm really excited about.
As well as we are after the 2.5-year project to complete this and get it perfected. McGowen has been a long time button rifle company, and we also make a small amount of single point cut rifle barrels. So we kind of know the ins and outs of both. And we've added the ECM process. That process is going to be known by a company by the name of Precision Cut. McGowen will still be around for the button branding as well as the single point cut, which we see as an obsolete product for us. And Carbon 6 will be the carbon wrap barrel product we have. And we're coming out with a new barrel. It's a sleeve barrel called Carbon Tech. So we're expanding in a couple of areas, and the accuracy really supports that. I've been skeptical of a sleeve barrel in the past, and we've done a very good job, to my surprise. What a great quality barrel and a great price point it's going to be.
Yeah, that's probably something that we will examine here at Ultimate Reloader, I'm sure, in the future, because for that budget-minded, lightweight-oriented hunter or whatever, that sounds like a really awesome product line. So McGowen will have Precision Cut as kind of its ECM barrel brand. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
And then on the Carbon 6 side, are you transitioning over to ECM for most or all of the lineup over time?
Absolutely. We started McGowen probably 20 years ago in Kalispell, Montana. I'm a native of Louisiana and live in New Orleans, so we decided to get into the carbon fiber barrel business a number of years ago when we lost a major contract through acquisition. We were then clear to develop that product. And we did it here in Louisiana because we have such a large technology base all along the coast for machines, machinery, tool people, suppliers, and it's much more robust in that regard than what we have in Montana, where our closest machine vendor's in Idaho. So it was a lot easier to develop, and it was here at home for me. So it's much easier to pay attention and develop that brand. So we will send down from McGowen, i.e. in the future with the ECM cut, to Louisiana, a precision cut barrel to then be turned into either a Carbon 6 or a Carbon Tech barrel.
Gotcha. And just for background information, we've worked with Carbon 6 barrels in quite a few of our lightweight hunting builds. Those shoot phenomenally. And then recently, I know you guys have been kind of using the 6.5 caliber as the prototyping platform to perfect this ECM process. We've gotten our hands on a couple of those barrels as well. We did a 1 1/4 inch straight taper 6.5 Creedmoor build. The first group shot out of that was 0.246 inches. So right away, we're getting like amazing results. And then recently we did a shorty 18-inch 6.5 Creedmoor that was also an ECM McGowen barrel blank. And we got over 3,000 feet per second with that barrel out of an 18-inch. And we threw a suppressor on it, also shot really amazing. So, we're already using this technology, and it's been fun to be a part of the process. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that kind of, spread out more broadly in the product lineup. So why don't you briefly talk about calibers? Calibers currently available at ECM, and then where you plan on taking that.
Gavin, the reason why we use the 6.5 as a prototype, because we just thought it was the rage out there in the Creedmoor and in the PRC and so forth. But we want to stick with a beta. Significantly through the years, the 6.5 has been regarded as a high accuracy caliber round, proper ogive, and we really like the way that performed. It took a lot of the guesswork out. So we will be, I think we're going to be all the way down to 22 long rifle, and we're going to go all the way up to 50. In button, we do 57, and we do 17s and 20s. But that's going to be a little while because those cathodes and that tooling is so teeny tiny. I've just looked at it and stared at it, and I'm dreading having to make that piece of tooling. So that will come later as we perfect some of the dynamics and physics that we're witnessing. But I will tell you, your results are very typical. We guarantee half inch. And with the ECM barrel, we've been getting quarter inch. In fact, people have been sending in targets that are just a ragged hole after 4 or 5 shots. We don't really know how to measure it. We can make something up and make it sound good, but that's the performance. But it's going to be consistent performance out of the ECMs.
Yeah, that's definitely what we've seen. Okay, so let's get into it. What is ECM?
It's electrochemical machining. So it is very basically, I guess the correlation would be wire EDM. And in order to kind of give you a better immediate aspect, it's like a spark plug without an electrode burning the metal off of a piston. It is that deterioration that takes place in a very organized manner. It is so accurate, it is as accurate or possibly more accurate than a wire EDM, because the tooling is not a program. It's a program, but the tooling is a direct relationship to the bore. So the transfer is extremely consistent. And I think everybody in the industry is, loving EDM. They're loving the wire EDM because that's what's cutting the raceways. And those are just so smooth, so nice. Man, we've picked up stuff that, guys in the action business have done a fabulous job, but that's how they're cutting their raceways. And I think the public knows how accurate that is. This is even more accurate than that.
Wow. Yeah, when I saw wire EDM at that machine, like you described, cutting the raceways out of what would become rifle action bodies, it was a little hard to believe the mirror finish that you observe when you're done. And it's a wire traveling through a space, arcing as it's cutting away the metal. It's amazing what's possible with the electrical related machining processes. So when you go to ECM a barrel, let's talk about the process. You're going to start with a barrel that, as I understand it, has been drilled and reamed pretty much the same way that you would with a button or cut rifling process. Where do things go from there?
The one thing we can do with wire EDM is we can make the interior bore a little smoother. And in the past, with button, you want to leave a little roughness in order to hold the copper sulfate, which is your lubricant, to go through and allow the button to get through the other side without sticking it or creating skitter. So we can actually improve it just like a mirror finish. We have found that's not a good idea. You need a little bit of blow by, otherwise you run into some other problems.
Interesting.
But basically, the quality of the barrel is on your drill and ream and how you approach that. Obviously, if you ream at a higher speed and go a little slower, you're going to get a little bit better finish. And that's what we can go to now, because we have no ancillary, any kind of post treatments with this whatsoever. So what we're going for is kind of what's coming out the other end. Essentially, you would do the same thing with a single point cut to a great degree.
So with the ECM process, what does the tooling look like when you go to actually do the rifling process?
Oh, I'll let you ask a question. It's so much like cleaning the barrel of a gun. You would recover a spent bullet, and that's what the actual electrode cathode looks like. No different than that to any degree, a monolithic, of course. And then you would put a cleaning rod that would be probably 70% of the diameter, and you would electrify that rod. And the spent bullet obviously has a printed twist rate on it, and you can see the print and so forth, the twist on the bullet. That's the same exact example I could give of the tooling. It goes into a large, no different than a cleaning rod, a large brass holder, which is then into a coupler, which is electrified. So you take it, you have a little bit of cone on the end, so you slip in nicely with the electrode, and then it slowly starts to eat away. Now, the one thing about the wire EDM, and I've seen actions made, oh my God, it just puts you to sleep. It takes so long.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a snoozer.
Overnight.
Yeah. Press a button, good thing in the morning you come back out in action. So with this particular treatment, basically I can do 8 barrels in 9 minutes, 28-inch beta length. So if we go to 24, I might be able to get 8 and 8, but and when it's finished, basically it's done. So with cut rifle, you still have to lap a little bit. Is my recommendation, my thought, to take the edges off. And with pretty much button, you're at a lapping table a lot, especially to kind of get the finishes we've gotten on our button rifles, which is more like a stainless steel countertop in a restaurant kitchen. We can reproduce that with the ECM. When the ECM is finished, you got to remember this is cutting in a salt water electrolyte solution. So you're going to have a slight discoloring, kind of, I would have to say close to galvanized.
Okay.
So when you complete it, you have to take that out and you wash it out into a rotary washer, specially built for this. It holds 80 barrels at a time. So the great thing is you're producing you're waiting to stack up to say 80. You really have no downtime. And then when it comes out, you put about 50 laps through it, and it is just, all you're doing is basically removing a less than pleasing finish to the eye. So now you get this real slick look in 50 laps. Takes, a minute or two. We have our own lapping machines, and the great thing about that, it is a straight path every time out. And our hand lappers sometimes get a little fatigued, and they can be high or low, and you can have a slight egg shape to the bore. With the lapping machines going down a ball screw, it's straight in and out every time, and it's a beautiful thing. And it takes probably more time to set the machine up than it does to lap.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes total sense. The repeatability difference that you would get with a mechanized process. So you've got the anode, which is negative. Is that correct? That's going to be your slug bullet looking thing, and then you've got that's the cathode. That's the negative part, and then is the barrel itself. Does it have a positive charge so that you can get that electrical interaction then?
No, the cross excitement comes through the saltwater electrolyte chemical process.
Gotcha.
But actually, in this case, you would take that spent bullet you recover, and then you would put an insulator material into the groove. So it would slightly stand off the wall of the barrel.
Gotcha.
And then the positive part would then become the negative part in this case, and it would transfer the electrical pulses. You have to set it for the length of the barrel, of course. You have to set it for the twist rate. And our cathodes are they're very flexible. So let's just take an 8 twist, for example, pretty hot, twist today. You can drop that down to a 1 in 7 twist by changing the electrical pulses, which has zero effect. It's just your program of controlling the duration and the dwell and the voltage that you put in it. And you could do it 1 in 7.5, you could do 1 in 8, 1 in 8.5, 1 in 9. So we could do any fractional between there. The great thing about this is you can do gain twist with it correctly. And we have a single point cutter. Can you do gain twist? We can. And we quickly found out that wasn't for us. And we just never could really perfect it like some of the other guys have done. The other thing is you can relieve just after the combustion chamber, you can relieve and deepen that groove oh so slightly. And it's a little bit like free boring. It releases the initial pressure, and that really can save a lot of barrels. We see some hot cartridges coming out today. I didn't believe it, but I've actually witnessed barrels going 350, 400, 450 shots, and they're toast. They're so bad, in most cases, you can't even set them back.
Wow.
So, yeah. And, being in the barrel business, we see, we get stuff back and people don't know what it is and we figure it out. So we can actually probably extend that life. We can also extend the life because there's no stress induced, but basically a little bit of relief by deepening the groove. Then we go to nominal. In the last 6 inches, we can actually lessen the groove, which would actually give it a choke or a torque, and that's what everybody's trying to achieve at the end. Can you do that with some other processes? I'm going to tell you, not very easily, and we've tried to do certain things, but this is just changing the program on a simple slope program.
Wow. So this cathode is traveling through the bore, and it's electrically cutting away the metal for the grooves as it's going. When you talked about doing gain twist, I'm assuming that you have to vary the rotation of the tool to match your current spot in that gain twist to go from one to the eight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So it's how you're rotating it as it's being translated linearly through the bore. That's fascinating.
And you're also, if you're going to choke it or relieve it, you've got to drop the voltage and the dwell down a little bit so you can achieve that. So basically, it's a real simple program for the twist and a separate program that merges, and that's going to be your duration, your voltage, and that sort of thing. The great thing is electricity with this is repeatable every single time. And that's the thing that we love about it. We never know what's coming out of a button rifle barrel. Now, we've done well with 20 years. We have a pretty good idea. But we still have variables, especially with smoothing and outlapping. And with single point, you always have a little bit of slack in the cutter box. You may have a few hard spots, which EDM could care less about. It doesn't matter whether it's cut in a lumen or Inconel. It's a spark, so the erosion effect and qualities are the same. So this is the only time I can ever say in the barrel business after thousands of barrels that we have a totally predictable product inside. We know what the contour looks like on the outside. Just try to see everything on the inside. Even with these new cool bore scopes, you would have to use bore scopes, air gauges, a number of different things to have a decent idea. But with this, we pretty much have an idea. It's the same thing every time, as long as the program is the same.
So speaking of that, let's drill down on that just a little bit. What would the repeatability or precision be, and then what would the accuracy be? I.e., if you wanted a 308 bore with a 300 lands and 308 grooves, like how close can you get to that? And then from 308 barrel to 308 barrel, how consistent would the results be?
All the above, about 100%. Because if you don't change, basically, the program, again, it doesn't matter if you're using 416, you're using a L series steel, it's all going to erode, eat at the same rate in the same direction, the same deflection. So basically, I think as a shooter, the thing I like, if I wear out a 7 PRC and I go to replace it, you have a pretty good shot at the same loads as long as the headspace and the free bore is the same. They're identical, comparable barrels by your specifications. Your loads are probably going to work almost identically. So
that's awesome.
I've spent 2 or 3 days trying to figure out a barrel, and I think with this, it's going to cut down the break-in period is almost 0, 5 to 10 shots max, and you've witnessed that.
Oh, yeah.
The other aspect is you're not sitting at the bench all day trying to load up something that's going to shoot to a 1/4 inch. We've shot a great variety of ammo as long as it's the same weight, and the groove, the twist rate is consistent and commensurate with what you're shooting. It's going to be repeatable almost identically every time.
Which is a huge advantage for custom rifle builders, because what you want is a benchmark, right? Oh, we used this factory ammo or this load. You can be successful with this load, and then you know that's going to be consistent from rifle to rifle to rifle. Or for a competitor, if you're an F-class competitor and you've worked up that perfect 7 PRCW load, and you don't want to have to start from ground zero again. We spend probably more time on load development when we do our rifle stories than we do on actually building the rifles. It's that intensive sometimes. So I think that's awesome.
Well, the great thing for like the boutique maker, we have a guy making 56 or 60 rifles a year, just wonderful rifle builder, great guy, and he stays boutique and that works for him. Does a very good job, but you can hand the guy a rifle and you can hand him a reloading sheet and a few cartridges, and he's out the door. How many times have the guys been back to the boutique rifle builder and everybody's sitting there scratching their head, going to the range, they're bringing a press and windy day, and that's just a miserable experience. I think this will cut down 94% of that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So back to the manufacturing process real quick. One of the things that I've been aware of in the past is just button rifle barrels, and sometimes you get stresses imparted on the bore, and sometimes when you thread the muzzle, if there's not enough meat around the bore, it'll open up slightly. with the ECM process, talk about, there's obviously some heat in there where we've got things being, electrically machined, but what about that heat and how it affects the barrel, and then also are there stresses that are imparted as a part of the process?
The heat is almost zero, simply because you have a water solution that's cooling a natural effect, but then we put it through this massive chiller. This is quite a large machine. It has a very large filter system, a very large cooler system, which takes the water down. As it's coming out of 8 barrels, it's just tepid. I mean, we stuck our hand down there with a rubber glove just to see what the temperature is. And we have a thermometer like an aquarium. It's just super cool. So really, the heat factor is no longer an issue here. It's not that much of an issue with cut rifle whatsoever, or the stresses induced by cut, because are there? Yes, in single point cut, but they're minuscule. In button, they are. You have to put it into a deep furnace, bake it, have a complete program. We use a nitrogen-filled, very large furnace that has special qualities with ramp up, plateau, ramp down features, and we've really kind of nailed that. But you still have stresses in the button. I think they're only apparent when you overpress the barrel, the blank, in the machining process to do a contour blank. Or you get to the bitter end where you're trying to line up the suppressor with the bore, can be testy and aggravating. So the way we do is with a range right, and we indicate to the center of the bore, not the outside. And can that move? We've all seen slight movement. In our business, we've seen a lot at times. You can go look at the scrap pile and giggle. But all that's gone, and it's amazing how much some of these barrels will move, and this pretty much cures that. The concentricity is going to come between the end of the end blank, and basically put it between centers, take a trim cut, and you're good. And I would say we use a live center on both ends when we go to do the trim cut. That way we're center to center, and we take care of any consistency on the trim cut like that. And I think most people would be wise to do that, no matter what.
Fascinating. So with ECM lowering your actual manufacturing time, what is that going to translate to for customers that order barrels? And will they be able to specify things like that choke down or the increased bore diameter when the groove diameter near the chamber?
That gets so complicated, and you got to set 8 spindles up for that. I knew that putting that out there, we're going to get a gazillion calls, and people are so precise today. They want the 9.54, 9.5 isn't good enough for them. So we're going to have to address that and put them out in a run, because that's going to have to be batched in the control environment that we see. And we understand a lot. We have 2 companies that just do a lot of barrels, so we trade secrets all the time and experiences. So until we can really dial down and get this, I think we're solid on the normal programs. Gain twist is easy, but when you combine it with the little bit of open bore to nominal then choke, that's going to be a little more difficult. But we will have specialty blanks available in the calibers, 7mm barrel burn, some of the 243s barrel burners. And so we'll have some specials that you can rest assured that you will get additional life out of the barrel and superior accuracy, but real difficult to set up for extremely now if you want an extremely specific barrel, order 8 and we're good. We'll help you out there. But it's like anything else. People say in the machine world, it takes more time to set up than it does to run the parts.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of what it is here. But once we get these formulations down, we will have a backlog, and I think a very tasteful selection of those. And I think it's going to gravitate to the high-end shooters. Your hunter's not going to care, or maybe understand. It's a whole different world in shooting, say PRS or F or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But they will be available. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of developing formulas or recipes. If you guys are ECM cutting barrels and experimenting with those parameters, and then working with some popular rifle cartridges. Like I think we talked about 7 PRC when we had our call the other day, and just how prolific it is. Right? You mentioned 1 in 8 twist, and you also mentioned 7 millimeter. Right? You put those together. What an amazing cartridge, you know. And if you find a recipe that works on with optimized bore dimensions, you know, all the way down the barrel, maybe that's something that becomes a standard special barrel, but not one that you're varying a whole lot each time. You know, I know it depends on the length of the barrel and all that. So yeah, lots to think about for you guys. It's a complex world that you operate within.
You know, Gavin, roll the hands of time back 10 years ago, and we could sit down at the conference table over lunch and just predict what we were going to build. And today, I swear, something comes out like the 7PRC. And Hornady was very, very nice in inviting us over to Cibolo Ranch, Texas to help develop that. I was not big on the specs when I saw it. I said, no, okay, all right, let's go. We eat barbecue and shoot. That's not a bad deal. And when we got over there, I was blown away. And the great thing about it is a very good performing cartridge. We had an experience that was really neat with Carbon 6. We set readers and writers and pro shooters up to shoot 20 rounds straight per shooter, keep it going up to 100, and we let the barrel rest. So we had it set up at 400, 700, 1,000, and 1 mile. They shot 5 at each. And what was amazing, we never lost point of impact with the Carbon 6. And also the recoil was pretty mild on that gun, so you didn't lose target acquisition.
Wow.
What I loved, now we ran 100 out with 5 different shooters. An 84-year-old general came up and said, "Son, can I shoot?" And he wasn't part of the program. This man hit the 1 mile 4 out of 5 times.
Wow.
And we had an 81% hit rate the 1 mile.
Wow.
And I asked him, I said, "How'd you learn this? How'd you shoot?" He goes, "I was a lieutenant. We didn't have a sniper school." He said, "We taught ourselves in Vietnam with a Winchester 70 or Remington 700 with a 30-06, and this is how I learned." I was quite impressed. And the cartridge was a great show. We had a great barrel, and Altera made a great action. And we just had, we had, I think, the best of the best there. So we really had a good experience.
Yep. Sounds somewhat similar to my experiences. Every 7PRC that I've built or shot has been a shooter. So that's awesome. You know, kind of wrapping this up, here's my question for you. Whatever you're willing to disclose, where do you see all of this going in the future? I mean, you guys are really, I think, perfecting and innovating on ECM for rifling, right? How far will that go, and are there other things that you can envision doing with it that you haven't even tried yet?
Yes, I'll give what I think I see in the future. We have been literally the guinea pig on this, and there's been a lot of talk in the industry, and there's some pistol companies have used it for a long time. But when you're talking about a short, fat barrel, you can get away with murder. When you're talking about a 28-inch 22 cal, it's a whole different world, and you can imagine that. The machine is really quite large. It takes a lot of electricity, and it's very expensive. The tooling is scary, but it's got quite the longevity. So I think to get into it, I do think that there's going to be companies that get into it. They are not going to be highly variable companies. If you had someone like SIG or Beretta, you know, you look at their offerings now, basically 1 twist rate in 5 calibers, that's about where they go. The custom builders that are going to be looking for what we do, you have to have a good system, inventory system, a good business system, billing, and you have to be reactionary. You just can't set it up one time and run it for a month. So that's not going to satisfy clientele. We're going to go expand to the sleeve barrel just because we think we've done such a good job with it. And I think you're going to see that as a really good platform. And the way I see it is, you know, a young guy, let's say he's 40 years old, wife's 38, he has a kid 12, And if he wanted to give that barrel, that really lightweight, accurate barrel, to his wife or his kid or hand it down, our 24-inch barrel weighs 2 pounds. So they can assume the correct posture. They can walk with it. It's not cumbersome. And if you have a hunter that wants to, hunt, I love to walk on a hunt. 2-pound barrel is really pleasant. So, and it shoots accurately. The first 4 or 5, we really haven't gotten past there. But I see a lot of things, a lot of possibilities for this. Absolutely, steel barrels. I think it's going to be in the heavy bench type barrels, the ones that weigh 8-10 pounds. I think that's going to make a mark. And the accuracy is so repeatable, it's so tight. And like you're saying, the worst ones we've shot are a 1/4 inch.
Wow.
And we've gone down to below that. So can I guarantee a 1/4 inch? I can hope you get that. I'm not sure I want to guarantee a 1/4 inch, but I do think it's an area that will emerge in the next few years. I don't think boutique rifle barrel builders are going to be able to afford it or use it. The expense is high all across the board. The efficiencies are quite good if you can get past the hump.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you guys are poised to do that. So
at this point, we are.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, Ron, thank you so much for joining us. I've learned a lot during this discussion, and I'm really looking forward to trying more and more of these barrels as you expand the portfolio of different calibers that are available. The sleeve barrel sounds really interesting as well. My question for you all is, do you have specific questions for Ron and his team about the ECM process, about the barrels that they're making with ECM? This is pretty cool new stuff, and there's a lot more to it than you would think. Drop a comment, and we'll join you all down there in the comments section. And don't forget, make sure you subscribe with notifications, because we've got a lot more McGowen and Carbon 6 content coming up, a lot more covering ECM, related rifle builds, and so on and so forth. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.